Welcome to episode 2 of Tales of the Unberechenbar with the wildcard Tommy Dillon. Some people didn't think I'd make it to episode 1. Well, haha. And I'd just like to say, right now, I am sat next to a man who I am proud to call my friend and my brother, the former UKW Tag Team Champion, former UKW Television Champion, former UKW Academy Champion, and former UKW Heavyweight Champion. Basically, he's a UKW Grand Slam Champion. He is the jester, Jayrow Lewis.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Tommy. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here because I've always wanted to get really in-depth on your story because our journeys pretty much started around the same time, didn't they?
Yeah, around
especially at UKW.
Yeah, a couple of months into it. But
yeah, I think you'd already started at UKW when I showed up. And
I think that was
our debuts were very close to each other, but our paths have been similar, but at the same time, they've also taken different routes because you've been all over England wrestling, and you've made quite the name for yourself. You've been in many different promotions. Very proud of you, by the way, as your friend.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, much as I did with my last interview with Jonathan Sedgwick, I want to go right back to the beginning.
Okay.
Right? Because, as I said to him then, when you leave school, you're told to have a plan.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you want whatever you want to do in life with your career, you're told to have a plan.
That's true.
Right? Now, I'm not sure, was wrestling always your plan, or did you have something else? Just tell me it from your point of view.
Well, the thing is, I've always been a fan of it. Like, ever since I was young, like, I got into it in the Attitude Era back in the, late 90s, early 2000s. And the thing is, when I was growing up, there didn't seem to be any, training schools or anything like that. And I've always, thought, oh, maybe I'd like to try this at some point. But as I got older and, went through my teenage years and, the possibility just seemed less and less. So, I'm not saying I gave it up. I gave the idea up, but, I mean, it was still in the back of my mind, but I always thought, maybe it won't happen. Maybe it's not going to be for me. So, when I left school, I didn't necessarily have, a long-term plan. I was just taking year after year, to be quite honest, when I was at school, when I left sixth form college. And I just got straight into work, straight into earning money and paying for bills. And then there were a few years after that, I've travelled the country working anyway, in my, what you want to call it, a shoot job. But, I've travelled...
I like that shoot job.
I've travelled everywhere with that. So, I've been around the country, I've seen things I need to see and stuff like that. And then it were only, say 7 years ago that I actually saw, it was actually a friend of mine. His nephew had started at UK Wrestling. And he was saying to me, it's like, look, come on, you're a big fan of this. And at that point in my life, I was like, oh, maybe not. No, it's maybe not. Maybe it's not for me. Maybe I've left it too late or whatever. So he kept it for weeks, and I'm talking weeks and weeks and weeks. He were telling me, come on, you've got to try this. You've got to try it. It's right up your street. And eventually I bit the bullet and I went for it. And, well, here we are 7 years later, you know what I mean? I mean, it's crazy because the guy I'm talking about, actually, back when I were maybe 11, 12 year old, when I was super into the wrestling, we actually started a backyard wrestling federation.
Oh, right.
We had all contracts and the old the plastic replica titles from WWE and stuff like that. And we used to make cards, we used to make shows, and we used to have a little camcorder as well, recording all that. And in the house somewhere, I actually have the old contracts from they were called World Wrestling Destruction or something like that. And I still have the old contracts that I signed, and I signed it for life. So if he ever does listen to this, then he knows that he still owns me. But,
if anybody's ever had any pictures from this, I want to see some pictures from WWD.
There will be about somewhere. There's loads of videotapes knocking about. But yeah, like I say, when I got to, when I first started training, I thought maybe it's not for me. Maybe I've left it too late. But no, I mean, as soon as I stepped in the ring, that were it. I knew this is exactly what I wanted to do. And the thing is, other wrestlers have, side projects they want to try and side things, and I don't. This is what I want to do, sort of thing. I've got into it now, and this is what I want to do.
Yeah. Well, like you say, with side projects, as I was talking with Jonathan Sedgwick about his acting career and obviously his business with iMedia and that. You've got a lot of friends in wrestling, friends that you met through wrestling, but also friends that you had before wrestling that have got into it.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, your friend Lawrence Breeze went off and made Blackheart Wrestling, which is such a great show. Anybody who's seen it is great. But Lawrence Breeze also was part of UKW. He was a booker and he was the commentator. And it's great when you get that, when you've got that tight knit group, but you see them all flourish.
Yeah, I brought Lawrence to UK Wrestling, because growing up with him at school, he would always. The funny thing is, I'll always say I truly got to be a wrestling fan because of him, because back at my school, like if you were a wrestling fan, oh, wrestling's this, wrestling's that, no one likes wrestling, oh, you don't dare be. And the thing is, like, Lawrence was the only one who were like, I don't care, I like wrestling, get over it. And I kind of like gravitated to him because it was like, oh, people can be wrestling fans and be okay with it. Yeah. And from there, we've been friends ever since. Like, I mean, to be fair, when me and Lawrence first met when we were 6-7 years old, we didn't exactly get on. But that's before we realised we both love wrestling, and we're like, oh, you like it, I like it, and here we are today.
It's amazing how things work out, because I mean, we've all had that moment, like at school, where we'd like be sat next to somebody who, say, like bullied us back in infant school.
Yeah.
And we'd be sat next to them, we'd suddenly get talking to them, and it'd be like, you know what, this guy's not actually that bad. And they'd look at you and say, well, you know what, I can't believe we've never actually spoken. And you just bond right away.
That was pretty much what it was between me and Lawrence, like. But like, I'm happy with him, because I knew he should have been involved in wrestling, knowing him full well what kind of fan he was, and he said it for years as well. Like, he'd love to get into it but never could, and then obviously I came to UK wrestling, and much like my friend did for me, like, it took me months and months to get to the actual training. Like, it took me months to get Lawrence there as well. But once he were in there, then that's when he realised that's what he wanted to do, and he's flourished since. Like, and like I say, I've met some great people through him as well. Like, so, I mean, like I say, wrestlers come from all walks of life, don't they? And then as soon as you're in here, it's like a big family, innit?
It is, yeah. I mean,
and that's what it is.
And we mean that completely, because it's not just, everyone always, when they use that term, it's like a big family. Everyone usually means we all get along. Truth is, we don't all get along. No. We've got those family members that we don't want to speak to as well.
Yeah.
You've got the brother that you fight with, the dad that you disagree with, the uncle that you don't talk about. They're all there.
Oh yeah, that's it.
And
there's never a dull moment, is there?
No,
never
definitely not. No, I mean that is the thing about wrestling, is every day is an adventure.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's always something going on, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's always something.
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure, was it? You were only a few months in when you won your first title, weren't you?
10 months, I think. Oh no. Sorry, excuse me.
I'm not talking about the academy title. I'm talking about the lightweight title.
About 9 months in.
Yeah.
9 months, and that were a shock to me as much as anybody. Like, when I found that out, I was like, oh wow, okay, that's it's not something I thought I was going to be doing. But
because I mean, even though it was a title that was really just a one-nighter kind of thing, it didn't really go any further after that. You've always had it on your ledger that you were the first one to be crowned lightweight champion.
Well, that were it. I mean, like, before that, I was just finding my feet, trying to find my way in wrestling and stuff like that. And then I remember I was tagging with someone, Bulletproof Josh Brown,
yes,
I think, and then we had an amicable split.
Hits and Giggles, I think that was called.
That was the one. My first ever tag team. And we amicable split, we decided to go his own way, and then the next thing I knew, I was going to face Louis Ripper for this light heavyweight championship, and then that were it. The thing is, I kind of sat there and just looked and went, that's got to be a misprint. That's got to be a misprint. That can't be right, surely. Yeah. And then when it actually happened, I couldn't. I still don't believe it actually happened now. Like, thinking about it, like, my God, that actually did happen.
Yeah.
I mean, and I loved working Louis as well. I loved working that match with him. It felt great. Like, I know I lost it to him half an hour later, but I mean,
that's the story of wrestling. We just take the kit where we can get it. But I think it was Mark Henry said it best: as soon as you've been champion, you're always champion.
Yeah.
Because your name is always in that conversation.
That's it.
And speaking of that, we fast forward a couple of months later after that. Suddenly you were the number one contender for the academy title.
I know.
Yeah, and I believe you ended, was it 2016, 2017? You ended the year as the number one contender. You started the following year winning the title.
That's correct, yeah.
Yes. Yes, you beat LRB, as I remember.
I did, yeah. In fact, I think the title was vacant at that point because LRB had just lost it. I can't remember who he lost it to.
I think he lost it. The person he lost it to had an injury or an illness or something. They had to vacate it. Yeah, and it got put in a match between you two, and you came out the victor. Yeah,
I mean, with LRB being a former champ, I thought, it's going to go back to him. He's going to be the favourite. And then when I came out of it, it was crazy because, again, much like the heavyweight title, I thought, the light heavyweight title, sorry, I thought, am I ready for this? Am I ready for it? And then, like I say, a couple of defences in and a couple of big matches in, I thought, maybe I am, maybe I can carry this. And then WrestleBration came, and unfortunately I may have lost the Academy Championship then, but I learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
Like I learned what it was like to win it, but I also learned what it was like to actually keep it, then lose it.
Yeah.
And I felt like it made me a stronger wrestler, stronger competitor anyway.
Definitely, because by that point, you know, you'd been at WrestleBration, and this is not just me blowing smoke here. You'd been at WrestleBration as the champion, and it kind of solidified you as one of the faces of UKW at that point, because you then went on to, you know, fight for shots at the TV championship, which again you ended up winning in a mega match against Ricky Knight Jr. That was as well. That was incredible. You had to wait a while for that because it was lining up your schedules, wasn't it?
Yeah. I tell you what, that is still to this day is one of my favourite matches.
Yeah,
definitely. I will happily say he kicked the crap out of me. Yeah. Absolutely. And you know what? I know we're breaking a little bit of the fourth wall here, but you know what? Really lovely guy.
Yeah,
super nice guy.
Yeah.
Super nice guy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think we had all the nights down for that night.
Yeah, we did actually. Didn't we?
Well, not all of them, obviously. We had the mum and his dad and sorry, I say the mum. Ricky Knight Jr.'s grandmother, it would have been, and his dad and his uncle.
Yep.
And as you say, lovely people. You could chat to them. They were so nice.
The work which you don't see that when you see them on TV or you see them in the ring. You think, oh God, these guys could actually kill you. But you know what? No, they were lovely, all of them.
Well, I remember going out to say hi to Ricky. He was stood out the back door. I went out, said hi to him. You know, nice to see you again. I looked next to him. There's Zach Zodiac, and I turned to him. I just went, "Hi, I'm Dom." And Zach, he's got that genuine hard man look about him. He looks at me, and for a second, I thought he was going to cave my head in. But then he's just like, "Hey, mate, how you doing? Nice to meet you."
That's what it is. They have that demeanour, don't they? You're just like,
it's because he genuinely looks like a hard man. You know, it's just a natural look for him. But he's such a nice guy.
They like I say, they all are. Right? Then you see him in the ring, and it's like the differences between the character and the actual people. It's just it shows how good they are.
Again, that was something I was discussing in the interview last week with Sedgwick, was the differences between the characters. In fact, you know what? I'm going to throw the question at you that I threw at him, right? Everyone you've met in wrestling, 7 years worth right here, all over the country, right? Who is least like their character that you've met?
Oh, now, do I go down an obvious route and say someone who we may think, or do I just break it completely and say someone? Be honest?
Be absolutely honest.
I'm going to say this out here right now, and I'm probably going to get no favours for it, but Rarebit.
Yes.
Rarebit.
Yes.
You know what? The character Rarebit, my God, is one of the scariest dudes I've ever met in the ring.
Absolutely, yes.
But the guy behind Rarebit, I want to take him home and adopt him. He's such
adorable.
Such a nice guy, unbelievably
Sorry
nice.
That we're killing Rarebit's persona here, but he's honestly, anybody who knows him, he's adorable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, like, I've seen him with the mask. I mean, I've been privy to him when he's been right in front of me with that mask on. And it's like, oh my, this guy could legit kill me. And then you speak to him, and it's like, oh, he's so nice.
Yes, I would totally agree with you on that. Rarebit is such a great guy.
He is.
He plays that character to perfection.
He does.
But, you know, this is what I'm doing with Tales of the Unberechenbar. I'm breaking that fourth wall. I'm talking outside the box, outside the character.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I was going to build up to this and save it till the end of the interview, but I think I want to get to it right now.
Okay.
Right? You've been Academy champion.
Yeah.
You've been television champion.
Yep.
Now there's a period of time that I want to talk to you about in great length.
Okay.
And that period is from December Bash 2019 all the way up to WrestleBration 12 in 2021. Right? Now, I'm going to set the scene. December Bash, Gauntlet.
Yep.
Winner is the number one contender. Yep. Great talent in it. Cayman Carlisle. Ellis Barker.
Yep.
Leonie Rose. Alfie Rogue.
Yep.
And you.
Yep.
Right. Go.
Well, the funny thing is, like, before that, I was in another tag team with Alec Michaels, part of the trio of Tricksters.
Yep.
We had our entity Maureen, of course, and at that point, Alec, I think he'd stepped away from wrestling at that point. And I was kind of in a lull. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do next. I didn't know what was going to happen to me at UKW. Like, the thing is, I don't want to say I was worried, because I knew that Alec leaving would mean something else for me, but I just didn't know what. I just didn't know whether it was going to be bad, good, or indifferent.
Yeah. And
then when I found out I was actually in the Gauntlet and, you know, going on to become the number one contender, it was a shock. It was like, it came out of nowhere, and it felt like it anyway. But on
did you know going in that night that you were going to be winning that match?
No, I didn't have a clue. Didn't have a clue. And the thing is, up to that point, like, I don't think me and Alec had actually won a match in a year. So I'd not actually. I tell a lie. I'd actually won once, and that was a singles match against Confused Steve from back when he first started.
Confused Steve.
And I was the only winner I actually got that year. Then, well, that up to the gauntlet, and then when I found out I would win it, it was just like, okay, this is new. This is new. And knowing full well that when I win the gauntlet, I'm going to be going against the boss. Yeah. We're like, wow, okay, this is crazy. And plus, at that point, I actually was undefeated at December Bash as well. Yeah. So it was kind of like me putting a streak on the line against Cedric's title.
Hang on, yeah. I messed this up, didn't I? Because you didn't win it you didn't win the number one contendership at December Bash. It was the month before.
It was a month before.
That's my bad. That's my mistake. Yes, it was the month before, and we missed out on December Bash due to some issue with the show. We just couldn't put it on. We ended up having to go straight into January after that, yeah.
So the plan was, at Revolutionary Road, I had my match against Cedric, which we had, and then there was, if you remember, the Forsaken, which was actually Bishop and Brent Newman.
Yes.
And all along, to be fair, at that point, they were actually working for me. But obviously, that's breaking a little bit of the spoiler there, but we're past it now. But yes, it would turn out them guys were working for me all along. They cost both me and Cedric the matches. You know, Cedric took advantage of when the guys took us both out. Yeah. It's supposed to just transpire all along. They're working for me, and then that's when I became the heavyweight champion because they helped me. Yeah. So we had the first singles match, which they came out, cost me the match. I went on an absolute tirade saying I wanted Cedric in a last man standing match. Probably not thinking, you know, just shouting, just giving it some, you know. And then I said I wanted a last man standing match. Had half an hour of a last man standing match with Jonathan Cedric. Yes. And Cedric can go with the best of them. Like, he can keep up with anybody in this world, I reckon. Yes. And it was hard to keep up with him. And he got the better of me. Again, this Forsaken came in again. But this time, the last man standing match was Cedric. He beat me. He got me. And I felt like I could have done a little bit more. And that's why I challenged him to one more. And I said, we went half an hour, and then I actually said the silly thing of, well, even if I had an hour, you could still not beat me 1, 2, 3. So that's when he proposed the Ironman match. And I'm not gonna lie, I heard about the Ironman match and thought, oh crap. Not gonna lie, I kind of said, oh great. So I've got to stay on my feet for at least an hour, or at least, you know, fight Will for an hour, and it was like, oh god. So we built that up. We had our blow-off tag match the month before. It was Cedric. It was actually Cedric, Cayman, and
Brooklyn, I believe.
Brooklyn, yes, that was it. Yes, oh yeah, I remember Brooklyn. She gave me a backstabber that way. And it was me, Sheik Maktoum, when he wasn't so liked by the UK wrestling audience, and Leonie Rose, who's well, still isn't, to be fair. But
as I remember, I think it was that night when the audience really started to love Sheik Maktoum, because he spent most of that night up on a prayer mat on the stage.
Yes, he did. Yeah. The thing is, I'm not gonna lie. In that moment, I had to pretend to be angry with him, but I kind of just stood there. I actually sat down in the ring because I was laughing so much. I had to pretend to be angry. No, I can't. I'm laughing. I can't do it.
Yes.
And then, well, that happened, and then
1 week later.
1 week later, 2 days before the Ironman match was supposed to happen, lockdown came. So that was it. We couldn't do it for 2 years. Yeah. And
that was 2020. What was it? March was it? Yeah. March 2020 that happened. Yeah, and we were all gutted because we did not know when we were coming back. We did not know if we could come back.
Nope. That was it. We were limbo.
Yeah, and you were left obviously with this idea that you could have been champion, but is that still going to be the case when you come back?
Well, that was it. I mean, I was under no illusion that I was just going to be given the title match, when I come back. I was under no illusion at all. I've never complained about my place on a card. I've never complained about it, because the way I see it, I love wrestling. I just want to wrestle. Yeah. I just want to get in a ring and wrestle. It doesn't bother me where I am, what I'm doing. I say it don't bother me who I'm facing, as long as they're safe, as long as, you know, keepers going, but it don't matter to me as long as I'm wrestling. Now, we're the same with the heavyweight title as well. Again, if I get the heavyweight title, great, fantastic, you know, I'm the guy to carry this forward. But if I'm not, it's one of them things. It's just one of them.
Being in a heavyweight title match is a thing.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. That's what I thought at the time. I thought I've actually fought for it. Yeah. That's as good as many people have got.
Yeah. I mean, even if you'd missed out, you've had those great matches leading up to this big story.
Yep. Well, that was it. I mean, again, I love working Cedric. I love working John. I mean, I've never had a boring match with him. I've never had a match where it's been tedious or where it's been a chore. It's always been fun. I've always loved working with him. And when we actually came back, it was I'd not actually been told about any of this or not like that. I just saw that Mustafa Khan had actually challenged him for the title when we came back. Yeah. So I thought, okay, I wonder if he's forgot. I'm it doesn't bother me. It genuinely doesn't bother me because as long as I'm wrestling, I don't care.
This was Rebound, wasn't it?
Yes, Rebound with a return.
Yes,
yeah. So that was Rebound, and I saw that it was supposed to be Mustafa Khan versus Jonathan Sedgwick. I thought, okay, fair enough. Mustafa Khan is one of the biggest stars we've ever had at UK wrestling. Why? It makes sense that he would be the first defence back after the pandemic. You know, the restart, the rebound, as you say.
Get the audience in.
Yeah. So I understood that, and I'm not going to lie, it did give me a bit of a chip on my shoulder. So, and the funny thing is, like, going into it, I was just like, I really wonder what I'm going to be doing. I have no idea what I'm going to be doing. I found out I was facing Sid Phoenix, who I love Sid. I love Sid Phoenix. He's one of my favourite people to be around because he's knowledgeable about like the stuff you need to know as a wrestler, like, you know, how to look after yourself and how to keep yourself safe and stuff like that, and like injuries as well. He's the man to talk to and stuff like that. When I found out I was facing him, I was like, it was just, I wasn't disappointed in any stretch because I love Sid, but it was like, I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder what's going to go from here. Like, I wonder where we're going to go with this. And then, to be fair, it was actually Cedric himself. And if anyone knows Cedric truly, you'll never hear him complain for starters, will you? No, you'll never hear him complain. You'll never hear him scream and shout. You'll never. He's so laid back and so cool, I guess, that I didn't expect him to come and explain what the situation was. It's his company at the end of the day. Like, I'll do what I'm asked. So I wasn't ever gonna ask for an explanation. I was never gonna do anything like that. And then he went out of his way to tell me what the plan was going forward to WrestleBeration. So it was like, I couldn't respect that enough. Like, he told me what were happening. He kept everything honest to me and stuff like that. And I was just like, cool, let's go with it. Let's make some memories. You know what I mean?
Of course,
yeah. And I like to think we did. Like, going into it as well, like yourself with the dream ticket as well.
Yeah, I only found out about that. Like, no, I mean, I knew I didn't know what match I was in until that got announced, and then I got told, you know, what the plan was going forward with that. But I was going to WrestleBeration, your title match. It wasn't the Iron Man match.
No.
That got changed.
It did.
Were you happy about that?
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there was no way that me and Cedric could have gone like an hour. Like, to be fair to Cedric, he said it himself. He's like, look, we can try, but I don't think we will. And I was like, no, I don't think we can. I just don't think it's going to happen. We just, you know, we've been out of it for nearly 2 years. It's not feasible. We're going to be out of it by halfway through it or whatever. So we decided to keep it as a singles match. And to be fair, it was still fun. It was still fun to do with him. And then the added spice of you trying to cash in your dream ticket and the collective coming out and costing you that. it added a bit of salt to it, like, added a bit of spice to it, and like the whole story itself. Even if I wasn't involved in it, if it was someone else in my place, I'd still look at that and go, that were a cool way to do it. That were a good way to, like, get people's emotions going, like emotional roller coaster. Like wrestling, we need the crowd involved, and if the crowd are on a roller coaster, they're gonna love it. They're gonna love everything that we're doing, and that's the whole point of it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, it's always got to be about the audience, and they loved it.
No, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt like that night. Maybe I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly, but I did feel like that night when you won, there was a mix in the audience.
A little bit.
Like, even though you were playing the heel, you know, so many people had watched you for years. They wanted that moment for you. They were, you know, because it's like, you know, don't take this the wrong way, but someone your size is not usually pushed to the heavyweight title. So for them to see that, I mean, I even said it in a promo at the time that you opened the floodgates. You know, everybody who had watched wrestling now saw you, a guy who it doesn't really fit the heavyweight profile, but now the top guy. You're now the top guy in this company, and it's right to have you as the top guy in this company. Yeah. It's like the poster for the next show afterwards, Aftermath. It was a big picture of you in the middle with the title belt and all the other guys dotted around you. And it was right, because that was exactly how it should have been. Because at that point you were the top guy.
I mean, like, when I saw that happening, like, I always make a joke, like, every time I'm on a poster, I'll always share it on social media and go, look, Ma, I'm on the poster. And I'm always grateful to be on it. I'm always grateful to have my face anywhere I don't like that. But then when I became the champ and they were on every single poster, I was just like, wow, this is what being the champ's about. Like, this, you are the face of the company. And like you said, there were a mixed reaction, because obviously I was playing the heel at the time, and there were some people who really wanted it. And I even had people afterwards, like, come up to me saying, I really wanted to boo you, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Like, I really wanted to, they're saying I really wanted to cheer you, but I didn't feel like I could. And it was like, the thing is, I loved it, because any reaction's a good reaction in wrestling, and I loved it. I loved that you know, I love the people booing it because I knew that we'd done it, like we'd done what we told the story we needed to tell, and we got the reaction we needed, and like the mixed thing just made, I don't know, for me it made it even better because it, like, nobody knew what to think, like, and like you say, like someone like my size, my build does not become a heavyweight champion, but I mean, again, that's why I'm always grateful for becoming champ. That's why I'm always grateful for any championship I ever get. I'm always grateful. Any match I ever get, I'm always grateful because, again, like a guy my size should not. Let's face it, I'm smaller than the average man, let alone a wrestler. So I mean, I've even had people say to me, "You don't look like a wrestler," and it's like, yeah, I know I don't, but I will work hard to become that wrestler because I know I can do it. Yeah. And again, even if I'm on the bottom of the card doing the pre-show, or if I'm in the main event of the biggest show of the year, don't matter to me. As long as I'm wrestling, I love wrestling. As long as I'm doing it, I'm happy. You know, and that's it. And it's gonna sound like I've got an ego when I say this, but the gold is just a bonus. Yeah. Because when I first started out wrestling, I had 3 major goals I wanted to accomplish. That was train to be a wrestler, actually train up to a point where I could be a wrestler, have my first match, and my last one was to win my first piece of gold. Yeah. And then after that, I said anything I do after that is a bonus. So if that were like outside the academy, bonus. If I face anyone who's got a massive name, bonus. Any more gold after that, bonus. Because I mean, I like to say, like, personally, I'm a sloth at heart. I don't like putting pressure on myself to get more, because I could do that. We could all do that, couldn't we? But I'm happy doing whatever because I've achieved the main goals I wanted to achieve. So from now on, it's like I just want to have fun. You know, I just want to carry on doing what I'm doing and have a bit of fun doing it and have fun with good people as well. Like,
which also leads me into the segue to the storyline that started during your title run and stretched out afterwards. Playtime Mafia.
Oh yes. All I will say is just for confirmation and stuff like that neither me nor Steve actually run or created the Playtime Mafia. No. That's all I'm going to say for now, because I can't really say too much in case it doesn't pay off or whatever. But yeah, it wasn't actually our idea to start the Playtime Mafia, but the person who created it wanted us to represent it, sort of thing. Yeah. And the thing about Steve is, like, when he was confused, Steve, like, you saw the dedication he had to fans. You saw the dedication he had to that was unbelievable. And when I first met him, he literally just started wrestling, I think. I mean, he'd done kickboxing, he'd done combat sports, he'd done all that sort of stuff. So his discipline for doing wrestling, I knew it was going to be like top notch. It was going to be second to none. Like, he'd had Mustafa Khan as a kickboxing coach. You know what I mean? It don't get much better than that, does it? And I genuinely felt like Steve was going to be one of them young kids who comes in with a little bit of attitude, a little bit of a problem or whatever, and he didn't. He just wanted to work, he wanted to wrestle, he wanted to learn how to do the craft. Yeah. And it was actually before the pandemic, me and him actually got a little bit closer. Like, we always said, we could be a tag team, or we could have a decent match or whatever, or, you know, like, giving him ideas for how we were going to be Confused and how we were going to portray it and stuff like that. Because if you know Steve behind Confused, you know how dangerous he can actually be with his fists, with his feet, with everything. Like, he can kick trees down and stuff like that. And again, the idea for the Playtime Mafia was just an idea for ages and ages. And like I say, during my title run, I think it was the match where I was facing you and Rex, wasn't it? Yes. And that was the day I found out that we were allowed to start the Playtime Mafia. Because that's when Steve went, oh, by the way, I'm turning heel tonight. I'm attacking Dam after your match. And then we'd talked about it, and we'd said, I'd love for Steve to be my tag team partner. Because, again, I've had good tag partners. I've had bad tag partners as well. But I don't know, there was something about Steve. There was just something about him when it was just before the pandemic, and as we came back, like, I'd kept in contact with him throughout the pandemic, like, I kept talking to him. Yeah. And I threw him this idea of being a team, like, you know, going forward, thinking, if it happens, cool. Again, same with my goals, if it happens, cool. If it don't, life's life. And then we got given the opportunity to it. And the thing is, as a tag team wrestling, I'm always sceptical with it, because I'm always worried that the partner's either going to try and take over, or, you know, there's going to be no chemistry there. But with Steve, I never had any of them worries. Like, it just seemed to flow. Like, whatever we did, like, the thing is, we'd always bounce ideas off each other. Like, even before we were teaming and we were just talking about teaming, we were just bouncing ideas off each other, left, right, and centre. And it showed me what he had taken from just his wrestling, like what he'd taken from being told as a wrestler. Because again, he said it himself. He's not a wrestler. He's a kickboxer. He's a combat sport fighter. But now I keep saying it to him even now, like even after we've split up and stuff like that, like, you are a wrestler now. You've got it. You've got that. You've got what it takes.
Yeah.
But going back to like starting the Playtime Mafia, like I say, to me, like I looked at him and thought it's a no-brainer. I want him as part of the team because he's a young lad who he's got so many years left in him. You know what I mean? And I guess it was selfish on my part because I wanted a young lad to play off. I guess, like Scott always used to say, always look after the young ones because you never know who's going to make it.
Exactly.
And I don't know, Steve. It was weird because he just gravitated back to me, and then like, you know, me and actually Alfie at the time, Alfie as well. Like, you know, we were both helping him out, and then look where he's got to now. He's fighting for titles left, right, and centre ever since. Maybe I didn't agree with it, but how he did the old turning it back on the Playtime Mafia. But at the same time, even in kayfabe, I understand because he's vicious, he's dangerous, he needs gold, he needs to fight for the main prize, he needs to fight for more than just tag gold, and there's nothing wrong with tag gold at all. Like, in fact, him being my tag team partner granted me becoming a Grand Slam champion. So I'll always be grateful to Steve for that. I'll always be grateful to Steve for actually accepting to become part of the Playtime Mafia. You know, I'll always be grateful to him. But I mean, yeah, at that time, like when I was the champ and I was doing all that, like I was worried that Steve were gonna feel like he was, you know, pushed back. So that's why I always wanted to try and push him forward. Like, he's the hitman, he's the dangerous one, he's the guy who should be kind of focused on. I mean, I know. Again, I was the champ, but like, I wanted the focus to also be on him because I felt like he deserved a little bit more of a rub and, you know, a bit more of a push to him. Yeah. So, and then when I eventually, I say I lost the title in the cage, but when I eventually lost the physical championship in the ladder match, and then the next show, we were still supposed to be, you know, cocky little shits. We were supposed to be little heels, you know, we were supposed to be, you know, hated by the fans, basically. And then obviously what transpired after I lost their ladder match was Mustafa Khan coming out saying he's back on the UK wrestling audience. So we kind of talked to each other after that, me and Steve, were like, well, we're kind of in limbo now. What are we? Are we good? Are we bad? Are we indifferent? What are we doing? We didn't know what we were going to be doing going forward. And then when we found out we were actually going to start feuding with the Persian Empire, we kind of thought, well, they still see us as the bad guys, but Persian Empire are like the most hated entity in all of UK wrestling at the minute. So where's this going to go? And it wasn't until we actually did a promo with Big Duncan when he came out. And as soon as Big Duncan came out, and he said what he said to Steve, and obviously we weren't allowed to touch each other, we weren't allowed to like do anything to each other, and he were getting in Steve's face, and I was standing between him and all that sort of stuff. The crowd were just eating it up. Yeah. There was something about it, like I genuinely, I'll say this now, I genuinely didn't think the crowd were going to eat it up as much as they did. But they were loving it. They were shouting, knock him out, Steve. And bearing in mind, Steve, I wouldn't say he was a fresh heel, but he was in his prime as a heel. Like, he was into it. And then all of a sudden they're telling him to knock Dunk out. Like, oh, okay, this is different. This is like an organic change rather than a planned change. It was like, wow, this could actually work. And then a couple of weeks later, we were fully fledged faces again. So,
well, that's kind of the thing when you put two heel factions or two heel teams against each other. The audience is going to pick one. Yeah. But at the same time, they usually just pick them in that moment. Yeah. Whereas, like for you guys, it was like these guys, choices Persian Empire or Playtime Mafia. The audience chose the Playtime Mafia.
They did.
It was like, you know what? We're going to cheer these guys, and we're going to cheer them until they've actually kicked the Persian Empire's ass.
That were it. I mean, the thing is, like, me and Steve both said, look, do we want to stay heels or do we just want to go with it? Just go with what the audience want and just do what we're doing. We're actually, you know, are we going to save face or are we going to try and ride this heel malarkey out? And it wasn't until I was supposed to actually face Johan Hunt, so this had confirmed anyway. But Johan has only just joined the Persian Empire at this point, so it wasn't too, I want to say hated, he wasn't too heelish at that point, so it'd have been okay. But the person I actually faced at that time was Hunter Elkaris, if you remember him.
Yes, I remember.
He was fully fledged heel. And then when I actually got to face him that night, I didn't get booed once. No. And then from there, me and Steve would just face. That were it. Yeah. Like, from there, even going through the Rumble as well, like, when the Persian Empire actually took over at the end, didn't they? And then Joe Cedric did what he did. Yeah. Like, I always say it was the only thing I've ever asked for in wrestling is to do the Iron Man in a Rumble. Granted, I didn't realise how hard it was going to be. But 53 minutes later, I got out of there and, like, the visual of dunk throwing me over the top rope and actually laid there, that wasn't me selling, that was me actually, oh my God, this arse's done him over. I just laid there, because that wasn't, because the point, the plan was for me to get back up and then the Persian Empire fight with us, and then Joe does the big reveal at the end, and then blah, blah, blah. I was that knackered, I just let State and Dunk carry on, just like, you know what, guys, you two carry on fighting, I'm just going to lay you for a minute. But no, even that, like, a Rumble, like, people were invested in it, they were invested in what Persian Empire were doing, and and when Steve actually eliminated Dunk from the Rumble, that reaction was just amazing, like, and that's when I realised, I thought, we've got something here, we've got something going forward here, and I love working with Persian Empire as well. I loved it. I love working with all of them, like, because they know how to get an audience. They know how to make an audience react.
Well, they're run by Mustafa Khan. I mean, he's one of the best for playing audience.
Of course. Yeah. That's one person I've never had to face, by the way, in a match before.
Neither have
like,
I.
in the singles match. Same. He's always said it up to me as well. It's, oh, me and you need a match, and I'm like, well, you know where the boss is.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, but then like I say, like, I didn't expect, like, going forward to WrestleBration to go for the tag team titles and actually win the tag team titles themselves. Like, again, knowing full well that's what would have brought me the Grand Slam title, I kind of thought it was just never going to happen. Like, one of them things. Like, again, I've already finished my goals. I wasn't going to go for it. I wasn't going to pine for it or anything like that. If it happens, great. If it don't, then, that's life. Yeah. But it happened, and honestly, I will say that the tag title, I will say it meant more than the heavyweight title at the time because of the Grand Slam feeling, winning the Grand Slam itself, and like knowing full well I've done it, like I've done everything. I suppose if I were going to say anything now, it'd be I'd move on and try and do it all again. But yeah, that when I'm winning the tag title with Steve, like knowing full well how it started and how it was just an idea for us to team together, and then actually becoming tag champs, it was crazy. It were probably one of the best feelings I've had in the ring, definitely.
That's great, yeah. Right, well, we're coming up to the end of the show now, so I'm just going to get a couple of quick fire questions out to you because I did get sent a couple of questions from a young man named Saul Taylor.
Oh.
First question was, what's the worst injury that you've had?
Oh, the worst injury that I've had was, ironically, well, I didn't know this at the time because, no, you know what wrestling's like. You don't. No. If it feels like a little nig, you just leave it, let it go.
Yeah.
It wasn't, to be fair. I should have got it checked out like before this, but I actually broke my shoulder in a match down in Wolverhampton, and I wrestled the next day.
Ooh.
But the thing is, adrenaline is one hell of a drug. Because before the match, it was actually my first ever Blackheart show as well. Like we were saying earlier about Lawrence Page running that. That was actually my first show that was working for them. And the night before, I broke my shoulder and I could not lift my arm above my head. Like I couldn't lift it at all. I thought there's no way I can wrestle. As soon as I walked through that curtain, it was nothing wrong with me. No. It felt like nothing wrong with me whatsoever. I felt a couple of little twinges in the match itself. But again, adrenaline just kicked in and I felt nothing up until I actually got back through the curtain and my arm just went flop. Like, couldn't feel my fingers, I couldn't feel anything. And then we did the match where it was the 6-man, where it was me, Sheik and Leone against Brooklyn, Cedric and Cayman, and then the pandemic hit, and that's when I thought I need to get this looked at, I need to get it sorted out. And I'd not broken it to a point where I couldn't use it or like that. I'd actually like chipped a bone, like on one of the joints itself.
Yeah.
And I remember when they actually like checked it over and started moving my arm and stuff like that, like my fingers just tingled, like it were like someone was stabbing my fingers like with like needles and stuff. I'd probably say that were an injury. I've also had concussion as well. Like that is horrible. That were a stupid way to get it. It were a stupid way to get it though, because it were me just being overzealous in the ring. I hit the wrong part of the ring and then that were it. The thing is, like, the guy I was facing, he was a guy called Niall Fairchild, big, huge, jacked guy, lovely guy as well, big, huge, jacked dude. And he told me that I'd told him to go to the finish, and I genuinely don't remember anything from hitting my head where I hit it, which was actually going for a big splash in the corner. Down at Coventry, they have like a lower ring. So me underestimating how low the ring actually was, I went head first straight into that metal pole at the back. He'd moved out of the way, plan spot, bang. And apparently I'd called it all, I'd done all this and done all that, and the call for finish and stuff, I don't remember it. The next thing I remember from hitting that pole was being sat behind the curtain with my head in my hands, and then I looked up and Niall stood in front of me going, "You alright, bro, you alright?" And I've no idea how I got there, no idea what happened after. I've seen the footage after, and I've looked and gone, I genuinely don't remember doing that. None of it. It was weird, it was surreal, because I've had knocks to the head since, and they've not been concussions, but like they've had that weird feel of it, and you're like, wow, I need to chill out, or I need to at least get this checked or whatever. But luckily, I haven't had any more since, so I'll take that as a win. But other than that, it's little niggly injuries that keep you out for a week or so. You know, I've never had anything totally massively major. And like I said, the only thing that was major, the pandemic hit, so I got it checked out anyway. So
that was lucky. Well, it was lucky in that sense. At least you had time to heal up from that. Right, one last quick fire question. Dream match for you.
Oh, if I could anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world against anybody in the world.
If I could pick an opponent right now, it'd be someone like Brian Danielson.
Yes.
I would say Brian, because again, getting into wrestling, actually watching more wrestling, like the Wrestling Channel back in the day on Sky, like when I first saw the American Dragon himself, I'm like, this guy's small, but he's killing people, he's hurting people, he's actually tying them up in a knot, and you know, it was crazy just watching this little guy just beat the crap out of these big guys. I'm like, it can be done. But at that point in my life, again, I'd not even entertained the idea of going to a wrestling school because I didn't think there were any about in Britain. And then seeing him, I was just like, wow, this dude is somewhat legit. And then as I got into wrestling, I always thought I'd love to face him. He is my dream opponent. I mean, I've got loads of like wrestlers that I look up to. Like Jericho's always going to be my favourite wrestler of all time. But Danielson's the one I'd love. Yeah, I want to work him. I want to face him. I'd love to. But yeah, he's my ultimate dream opponent.
Yeah, I would love to see that match myself. Right, well, that's wow. We've done quite the show right there. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Tales of the Unberechenbar and the Wildcard Tommy Dillon. Thank you, Jayrow Lewis, for doing this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And I will see you guys in the future. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you very much.